So I want you to picture a typical suburban street in your mind right now. Like it's just a regular Tuesday afternoon, right?
Right, just completely average.
Exactly. You've got a guy in a faded jacket slowly pushing a bicycle down the sidewalk. And maybe across the way, there's a scrap dealer dragging this heavy, rusted cart over a speed bump.
Right, stuff you'd see every day.
Down at the corner, an auto rickshaw pulls up, a couple of kids hop out, and they point at a parked car, your gate.
If you look out your front window, all of this just registers as, harmless, mundane background noise.
It's just the neighborhood doing its thing.
Right, you see it, your brain labels it as normal, and you immediately forget it. But, and this is the core of our deep dive today, what if that background noise is entirely manufactured?
Which is a terrifying thought.
It really is. What if those random passersby are actually executing this highly orchestrated, multi-day intelligence-gathering operation, and your house is the target?
Yeah, I mean, it forces you to completely reevaluate how you perceive your own street, for sure. So welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is basically to shatter the Hollywood myth of property crime. Because we all know the movie version, right?
Oh yeah, the sudden smash and grab in the dead of night.
Exactly. A shattered window, maybe a crowbar, blaring alarms, and then the thieves vanish into the shadows. But that is not how high-level operations work at all.
Not even close. Today, we're opening up a remarkable set of real-world security incident logs from early July 2026. And, these aren't theoretical models.
Right, these are actual logs.
Yeah, these logs meticulously track a single residential property over the course of several days. It gives us this unprecedented look at the tactical patterns of criminal reconnaissance. In the security industry, we call this casing.
Casing. I think of it kind of like a predatory animal stalking a herd, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lion doesn't just sprint blindly into the middle of a gazelle herd hoping to bump into a slow one.
No, it's a very methodical process.
The predator watches the perimeter. They test the defenses. They figure out who is weak, who's alert, where the escape routes are. And they do it all without ever spooking the prey. Like, it is not a crime of passion. It's pure data collection.
That's a perfect analogy. And the overarching strategy driving that data collection is psychological manipulation. High-level property casing relies heavily on a profound understanding of human perception.
What do you mean?
Well, the goal for a surveillance scout isn't to be invisible. I mean, in a modern residential neighborhood filled with ring cameras, security guards, nosy neighbors, true invisibility is basically impossible.
Right. Someone is always going to catch you on video.
Exactly. The actual goal is to be entirely unmemorable. A successful scout wants to be registered by your brain and by your cameras as a perfectly standard element of the environment, so you just instantly filter them out.
They're weaponizing the illusion of normalcy.
Yes, exactly.
Which brings us to the most basic building block of this casing process outlined in the logs, which is blending into normal foot traffic. Security teams refer to this as transit masking.
Right. Transit masking. Essentially, it's just the art of pretending to be a regular person walking to the store.
Simulating standard public behavior.
Yeah, it's the foundation of any street-level operation.
Right.
But the security analysts who compiled these July 2026 logs, they noticed this fascinating pattern. They caught multiple pedestrians using highly specific and honestly slightly unnatural body mechanics to hide their focus.
Yeah. The analysts called it the torso forward glance.
Right.
Let's break down what that actually looks like. According to the data, these individuals would maintain a completely natural forward-facing stride. Like their chest, their hips, their legs are all moving straight down the sidewalk with total purpose.
But they're using this subtle tactical scanning technique.
Yeah, they tilt their heads just a fraction of an inch, and then they angle their gaze through the very corners of wide-strained eyes to lock onto the target property.
Yeah.
They're essentially maximizing their peripheral vision so that they don't have to turn their head.
And we also see the introduction of technological props to assist with this mask. The logs highlight one individual executing this glance while wearing AirPods.
Ah, the AirPods distraction.
Yeah, the earbuds serve as a visual distraction. It signals to anyone watching, hey, I'm lost in my music, or I'm deep in a phone conversation. It creates this aura of internal distraction.
Well, they're actually fully dialed into the environment.
Exactly. Meanwhile, this person is keeping a steady walking pace, but executing a prolonged, highly fixed horizontal sweep of the main vehicle gate, the parked cars, the structural windows.
Okay, I have to push back here, though.
Sure.
Is this behavior really that obvious to a security camera? Because I mean, if I'm walking my dog down a new street and I see a house with some incredible landscaping or like really cool architecture, I might strain my eyes to look at it without stopping or turning my whole body.
Right, you might just be curious.
Yeah, I might do a horizontal sweep of the yard just out of sheer curiosity. How do trained security teams differentiate between, a tired commuter admiring a house and a highly tactical scout mapping a perimeter?
That's a great question. The distinction lies in the biomechanics of the human body, specifically what analysts call the forward body angled gaze disconnect.
Okay, break that down for us.
Consider how human beings naturally move through space. Casual pedestrians, even when they're curious about their surroundings, naturally look where they're walking. Your head, your neck, your shoulders, they tend to follow your line of sight.
It's an evolutionary thing, right?
Right. It keeps you balanced and aware of obstacles. If you want to look at a house, your body naturally turns toward it.
So your shoulders follow your eyes. If I look left, I naturally turn left.
Exactly. But scouts are operating under a conflicting set of physical demands. They're forced to look at their target to gather vital intelligence, while simultaneously fighting their body's natural mechanics to keep moving straight forward.
To maintain the cover story that they're just walking by.
Yeah. Yes. And this creates a highly specific, unnatural tension in the neck and upper shoulders. A curious neighbor looks, naturally pivots their torso, maybe slows their pace a bit, but a scout keeps their pace rigidly uniform while their eyes strain to lock onto structural assets.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, to a trained observer reviewing footage, that physical tension, that fight against their own momentum, is a glaring anomaly.
So it's the stiffness, the rigidity of the torso contrasting with the intensity of the stare.
Yeah.
That makes total sense when you visualize it.
It really does.
But, walking past a house only gives you a 3 or 4 second window to look. The logs show that scouts have to find ways to stretch that window, which leads us to this incredibly relentless operation the analysts dubbed the serial bicycle scout.
Ah, yes. The bicycle scout logs are basically a masterclass in the sheer patience and systematic nature of a casing operation. I mean, this wasn't a one-off pass.
No, not at all.
Between July 7th and July 10th, a lone male used a bicycle, not for transportation, but purely as operational cover.
Let's look at how he actually deployed it, because rather than just giving us a list of times, the logs show a highly calculated campaign.
Very calculated.
He starts on the afternoon of July 7th, lingering in the perimeter sidewall, and he's pushing the bike with one hand. Having the bike gives him a built-in excuse to be moving at a fraction of a normal walking pace.
Right.
From there, he conducts a systematic scan of the reflective glass panels on the house.
And the choice of time and location is critical here. He isn't just randomly walking by. By arriving in the late afternoon, he's mapping how the setting sun interacts with the reflective glass and the property's camera lenses.
Oh, that's smart.
He's looking for glare, blind spots, shadowing, anything that might provide a tactical advantage later.
Then he returns the very next day, July 8th, but he completely shifts his strategy. He shows up midday, assessing the main entry gate, and then returns that evening for a nighttime assessment of the primary vehicle gate. It's like he's running a shadow analysis on the property.
That's exactly what he's doing. He's building a comprehensive profile of the target's daily rhythms.
Testing different times a day.
Yeah, by testing the property at midday, he observes the domestic staff routines, mail deliveries, daytime security shifts. Then, by pivoting to an evening assessment, he's checking the exterior lighting triggers.
Seeing what turns on when.
Right, and seeing which interior rooms light up to gauge the residents' evening habits and monitoring when the vehicles actually return home.
He is literally mapping the life cycle of the house.
Yes.
And he continues this through July 9th with a double pass morning and evening, and finishes on July 10th with a high-frequency morning scan. He's logging the exact time the security guards swap shifts or when the residents leave for work.
But here is the limitation of that tactic.
Right.
Even with a bicycle, you are still bound by the rules of the sidewalk. A bicycle only gives you an excuse to move slowly. It does not give you a free pass to stop entirely.
Yeah, if you stand on a sidewalk staring at a house for 5 straight minutes, even if you're holding a bike, someone is going to call the police.
Exactly. The moment you stop moving, you violate the social contract of the sidewalk. Pedestrians are expected to transit.
Right.
When a scout needs to stop and stare to map out complicated interior layouts or figure out the exact angle of a camera placement, they can no longer rely on transit masking.
They need a new excuse.
They have to adopt elaborate situational pretexts, costumes, and props, basically to justify a stationary presence.
And the logs have a wild example of this from July 5th involving what they call the modified scrap dealer.
This one is fascinating.
It really is. A man enters the street pushing a massive, heavily loaded scrap cart. And the analysts point out this huge contradiction in his behavior. Pushing a heavy, unbalanced cart over uneven neighborhood roads and speed bumps requires an immense amount of physical exertion and, cognitive focus.
You really have to watch where you're going.
You have to watch the road. But this man wasn't looking at the asphalt. His attention was entirely consumed by the target property.
Right, because the cart wasn't his primary tool. It was just the vehicle for his technological rig.
The logs detail that this scout actually had a mobile device hidden inside a flip pouch in his front shirt pocket with the camera lens oriented outward.
Just filming everything.
Yeah. And to get the intelligence he needed, which was a clear shot of the second-story layout, he had to execute this maneuver they call a reverse tilt.
He's attempting to angle a chest-mounted camera upward without using his hands.
The visual of this is just incredible. It's like someone trying to do the limbo while pushing a shopping cart.
It really is.
He's arching his spine and his face backward to angle his chest upward toward the second floor, all while trying to maintain the forward momentum of this massive cart. It sounds almost comical.
Comical, but the intent is incredibly invasive.
Completely. And this physical awkwardness provides his tell. Because the moment he detected movement inside the house, like someone just walking past a window, he immediately aborted the scan.
Panic response.
Yeah, he jerked the cart away, and the security footage captured him, exhibiting these highly irregular, tense facial gestures.
The cognitive load of maintaining the disguise just completely clashed with the reality of being spotted. And this brings up the fundamental limitation of physical cover. The goal of the scrap cart, or really any complex disguise, is simply to purchase a crucial 60 to 90-second window of legitimate presence.
Just a minute or so. 60 to 90 seconds is all the time they need to gather the data.
Right. Think about the psychology of observation. If a stranger in street clothes is just standing at your gate staring at your front door, your brain flags them as a threat in about 10 seconds.
Oh, absolutely.
But if that same person is struggling with a heavy cart, your brain gives them a social pass.
Because manual labor is hard and slow.
Exactly. You accept that it's difficult. The problem for the scout, though, is that the physical demands of their disguise violently conflict with the physical demands of surveillance.
It's the forward walking versus the angled gaze problem all over again, just on a much larger scale.
Precisely. Pushing a heavy cart naturally requires you to lean forward, tuck your chin, look down at the road. Filming a second-story window with a chest camera requires you to lean back, open your chest, and look up.
It's impossible to do both naturally.
That violent physical contradiction is exactly where the facade breaks down, and their true intent is broadcasted to anyone reviewing the footage.
So this idea of buying a window of legitimate presence, it extends beyond just costumes. The logs show scouts using the natural chaos of the city itself as a shield. They refer to this tactic as auto rickshaw staging.
Right, using local transit?
Yeah, instead of a prop, they use local transit and other people. An auto rickshaw drops passengers off directly in front of the vehicle gate curb of the target property. The adult passenger intentionally lingers at the curb, acting like they're settling a complicated fare with the driver.
Just fumbling for change in their pockets, pretending to argue over the price, asking for a receipt.
It's a completely relatable urban scene that literally no one looks twice at. But while the driver is distracted by this orchestrated payment dispute, and while anyone watching assumes it's just a standard transit drop-off, a minor, accompanying the adult, physically breaches the property line.
It's very coordinated.
The kid walks past the curb, advances onto the property, and starts checking access points and looking at the vehicles. Oh, and wait, earlier in the week, another individual from a rickshaw actually defaced the compound wall by spitting pan masala onto it.
Right, I remember that from the
A
logs.
clear indicator of hostility and, total disrespect for the perimeter boundary.
Yeah, they are manufacturing a pocket of chaos. The dispute over the fare demands the attention of anyone nearby, creating this blind spot that allows the secondary operative to probe the perimeter.
Which transitions into an escalation that the logs track as the week progresses. The casing operation moves from passive observation, like the bicycle scout and the scrap dealer, into much darker, honestly more aggressive territory. We see the utilization of human shields, specifically minors, to test the boundaries.
This part is disturbing. Throughout the week, the security logs continually flagged unattended primary school-aged children lingering directly outside the entry gates. Now, normally, children playing in a neighborhood is the very definition of normal background noise.
But the footage revealed this was far from casual play.
Far from it.
These kids were deliberately pausing at secure access points. They were peeping through the narrow gaps in the gates to inventory the parked cars. They were physically pointing out specific structural assets like camera placements to each other from the street.
They knew exactly what they were looking for.
Security analysts concluded that these children were being utilized as tactical probes by external parties to test gate closures and monitor resident presence, which crosses a massive ethical line.
It's awful, but tactically, it's a brilliantly calculated move. You exploit the societal norm that children are inherently non-threatening. A security guard or a homeowner is going to hesitate to confront or aggressively question a 7-year-old.
Right, you don't want to yell at a kid.
Exactly. It completely bypasses standard threat response protocols.
Well, the tension of these constant probes finally snaps on July 10th. The logs detail this massive climax to the operation. A lone subject approaches the property using the pretext of a video call.
Another prop.
Yeah. He's holding his phone up to his face, acting like he's deep in conversation, but he's using the lens to systematically point directly at the property's reflective glass and doors.
He's likely using the front-facing screen to look behind him, or just recording the footage directly while pretending to look at the caller.
He walks away, but then returns minutes later and just drops the pretext entirely. He stands right at the primary vehicle gate, explicitly angles his camera upward, and maps the second-floor windows. And the analysts note he is deliberately waiting there to gauge the resident's occupancy response time.
He wants a reaction.
Right. He wants to see exactly how long it takes for someone inside or a security guard to notice him and react.
He's testing the tripwire. He needs to know the response time of the defense.
And the defense responds. A security observer intervenes. They execute a standard, safe intervention, just stepping up and politely questioning the individual about what he's doing outside the gate.
And how did that go?
The subject's reaction is explosive. The analysts describe the confrontation in the logs, noting that the subject immediately began shouting highly aggressive, filthy, and abusive language directed at the questioner. In fact, the quote from the log says the language was, get this, severe enough to stir ancestors from their graves.
A rather poetic entry for a clinical security document.
It really paints a vivid picture. But, when you read that, it's easy to think this guy just panicked. He got caught filming, lost his temper, and suffered a genuine loss of emotional control.
Sure, that's a natural assumption.
But in the context of everything we've just unpacked, this isn't a panic attack. When the guy on the phone exploded with those curses, was that a genuine loss of control, or is that actually a calculated defense mechanism to scare off the security guard? It's a tactical smoke bomb, isn't it?
It is absolutely a tactical smoke bomb. It's a textbook counter-surveillance tactic. Aggressive escalation is designed to achieve one specific goal: shutting down the investigation.
Just end the conversation immediately.
Right. When a scout is confronted, their primary objective is to get away without having to answer any questions about who they are or why they are filming. By exploding with disproportionate, shocking aggression, they trigger an immediate psychological response in the observer.
Like a fight-or-flight response.
Yes, they trigger an amygdala hijack in the security guard. Most human beings naturally want to avoid physical conflict, right?
Yeah, of course.
So they will automatically default to de-escalation when faced with a screaming, volatile person. The guard backs away, trying to calm the situation down. It creates instant, overwhelming chaos, and that chaos perfectly masks the scout's retreat.
Wow.
The guard is no longer thinking about the camera or the casing operation. They are solely focused on the explosive behavior in front of them.
So the anger is just another mask.
Exactly.
And the logs prove this wasn't a random hothead having a bad day.
No, the analysts conducted a deep dive into the historical logs for this specific property, and they found a match. This exact same individual had previously engaged in hostile activities at this location under a completely different pretext.
The past logs showed he had staged a fraudulent motorcycle breakdown right outside the perimeter with an accomplice. They pretended the bike was dead, creating this perfect excuse to loiter and observe.
But then what happened?
Well, the second a real vehicle approached them and offered assistance, they dropped the act and fled at high speed.
And that historical tie-in is the smoking gun. It proves this individual is a persistent, coordinated threat. He isn't just a passerby. He's engaged in an ongoing campaign to test the property's defenses.
A real professional.
Yeah, the fake motorcycle breakdown, the video call pretext, the explosive tactical rage, they are all just different tools being pulled from the exact same operational playbook.
So after unpacking this intense multi-day operation, from the angled glances and the limbo scrap dealer to the weaponized children and the screaming video caller, how do you actually defend against this? How do you fight an enemy whose primary weapon is routine and who uses normal daily life as their disguise?
The ultimate defense strategy, as outlined by the security professionals analyzing these logs, comes down to a single core discipline: document and connect the dots.
Document everything.
You have to log these deviations.
It makes me think of time-lapse photography. If you stare at a vine growing up a brick wall for a minute, it looks like a still image. It just looks like a leaf. You don't see the thread at all.
Right.
But if you take a picture every hour for a week and then play it back at high speed, you suddenly see the vine violently creeping up the wall and choking the structure.
That's a great way to put it. The Bicycle Scout is just a single frame of that time lapse. When viewed in isolation on a Tuesday afternoon, he seems entirely harmless.
Just a guy with a bike.
If a security guard only saw him once, they would have zero reason to intervene. It is only by Friday morning, looking at a comprehensive documented log of his appearances, that his systematic mapping becomes visible.
It's the difference between holding a single jigsaw puzzle piece and finally seeing the picture on the front of the box. You know, a single weird look at your front door is nothing. It's just a weird look.
Exact.
But 4 weird looks at the exact same gate at 7:40 a.m. over 4 consecutive days. That is a flashing red light. But you only see that red light if you are keeping track of the data.
And that's why the analysts advise keeping a detailed incident log, staying vigilant, ensuring your camera systems have overlapping fields of view, and crucially, never hesitating to safely question deviations from standard public behavior.
Engage with them safely.
Yes. Casing relies entirely on the assumption that you will ignore the scouts. The moment you step out and politely question them, you contaminate the data they are trying to collect. You signal that the prey is awake, alert, and watching back.
You ruin the baseline.
You completely ruin it. And this leaves you with a final thought to mull over as you go about your day.
All right, what is it?
Think about the daily rhythms of your own street. Think about the delivery drivers dropping off packages at the same time, the dog walkers passing by every morning, the people lingering near the corner waiting for a ride share.
The normal stuff.
Right. What if the most dangerous people in your neighborhood aren't the ones hiding in the shadows at 2 a.m. with a crowbar, but the ones hiding in plain sight at 2 p.m., perfectly mimicking your daily life? How much of what you consider normal background noise is actually someone taking notes?
That is going to keep me up at night. Next time you look out your window and see someone pushing a bicycle just a little too slowly, or, struggling with a heavy cart while staring a bit too intensely at a second-story window, maybe take a second look. Your street might just be under observation.